You know that moment when a conversation ends, and everything seems completely normal until later. You're home, the day has moved on, maybe you're brushing your teeth or lying in bed, and suddenly your mind returns to a small moment from earlier. A sentence you said, a pause in someone's reply. The way their expression shifted for just a second. Most people would barely notice something like that. But your mind does. And once it notices, it doesn't simply move on. It begins examining the moment from different angles. You replay the conversation, almost like a scene in a film. Then another version appears, and another, each one slightly different, each one asking a quiet question. Maybe I explained that wrong. Maybe they interpreted it differently than I meant. Maybe I should have said less or maybe more. Hours can pass like this without you even realizing it. To people watching from the outside, this kind of thinking often looks unnecessary. It gets labeled quickly: overthinking, overanalyzing, being too sensitive, the inability to just let things go. And after hearing those labels enough times, many people begin to believe there must be something wrong with the way their mind works. But when psychologists began looking more closely at this pattern, they found something interesting. The mind that revisits everything is rarely doing it out of weakness or lack of discipline. More often, it's doing something else entirely. It's trying to understand the world with a level of precision that many people never attempt. The word we usually use for this pattern is overthinking. But that word can be misleading. It makes the process sound like a conscious choice, as if someone simply decided to think more than necessary. In reality, much of this process happens automatically. Certain regions of the brain responsible for monitoring the environment are particularly active in people who tend to overthink. The parts involved in pattern detection, error monitoring, and predicting outcomes are constantly scanning for subtle signals. The brain is essentially asking a quiet question all the time: what might happen next? This system evolved for a reason. The human brain is designed to anticipate problems before they occur, to imagine possible outcomes before decisions are made, to notice patterns that might help someone navigate social situations more carefully. For some people, that system simply runs with greater intensity. Instead of letting an experience pass quickly, the brain continues processing it in the background. It checks for meaning. It examines possibilities. It tries to refine its understanding of what happened and what it might mean for the future. From the outside, this can look exhausting, and sometimes it is. But the story of how this pattern forms usually begins much earlier than people realize. For many individuals, the habit of closely analyzing situations develops slowly over years. Sometimes it begins in childhood environments where emotional signals were subtle but important. Maybe a parent's tone could shift the atmosphere in a room. Maybe reactions were unpredictable, and learning to read small cues became useful. In environments like that, the nervous system adapts. It learns to observe carefully, to anticipate reactions, to notice small changes in mood or language that others might overlook. What begins as attentiveness gradually becomes a mental habit. The mind starts preparing for situations before they happen. Conversations are rehearsed internally. Possible misunderstandings are imagined in advance. Decisions are run through multiple scenarios before they're made. In many ways, the mind becomes a rehearsal space for life. And while that process can sometimes create mental noise, it also reveals something about how that mind is wired. It's trying to reduce uncertainty. When the brain learns that outcomes in life can be unpredictable, it compensates by building more detailed internal models of the future. From the brain's perspective, this isn't overthinking, it's preparation. People simply move through the world with different nervous systems and different ways of responding to uncertainty. And the same mind that sometimes loops in analysis can also notice things others completely miss. Subtle emotions, hidden patterns, quiet signals in conversations. In many ways, that mind operates like a high-resolution scanner. Seen from that perspective, the pattern begins to look very different. Not broken, not flawed, just a nervous system that learned to navigate the world carefully, and once you understand that, the mind finally begins to feel a little quieter.